What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. One of the biggest fights that can be made in the sport of boxing is being negotiated between, in my opinion, the top two pound-for-pound fighters in boxing. Unified welterweight champion Spence Jr. and WBO welterweight champion Crawford. Now, I have Crawford number 1 and I have Spence number 2 on my pound-for-pound rankings. I have Usyk number 3, I have Fury number 4, and I have Canelo Alvarez number 5. That's my top 5 pound-for-pound. But one thing that I hope transpires after this fight, hopefully it comes to fruition, is whoever wins this fight should be the unquestioned number 1 pound-for-pound fighter. And I got an update on the negotiations, and from what I'm hearing, Spence Jr. has agreed to terms for the fight. The ball is in Crawford's court to accept the terms. Now, I know Crawford is not keen on fighting Spence in Dallas, Texas, AT&T Stadium, but from what I'm hearing, that's not a deal breaker. Spence Jr., who is a boxing historian, he's always talking about fighters of the past. He knows a lot of those great fights have taken place in Las Vegas, Nevada, aka Sin City. Leonard Hearns one took place in Las Vegas. Hagler Hearns took place in Las Vegas. Hearns Duran took place in Las Vegas. Hagler Duran took place in Las Vegas. All the great fighters in and around the welterweight and middleweight division, a lot of those mega fights have taken place in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, when we talk about Leonard and Duran, the first fight, that fight took place in Montreal, Canada, and the second fight took place in New Orleans, Louisiana. So it has been some fights that have taken place, mega fights that have taken place outside of Las Vegas, but again, I don't think this is going to be a deal breaker. I don't believe Crawford is going to insist on the fight not happening in Dallas, and if he does that, I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker. I think Spence will be more than willing to fight him outside of Dallas. Now, from what I'm hearing, the guarantee is the hold-up. The guarantee is the hold-up. Hold up, wait a minute, not just wait. We're going to talk about Buddy on this play. Yeah, what the hold-up is the guarantee. The problem is Top Rank was overpaying Crawford. That's the problem right there. Crawford made $6 million in his last fight with Porter, and the fight did 130,000 pay-per-view buys. That's the problem, because he's not going to get $6 million off the top fighting Spence. Now, he has the potential to make more than $6 million, but he's not going to get that off the rip. That's the problem. I think he's going to have to accept a lesser guarantee. I think something like maybe he gets $4.5 million guarantee. Spence gets $5 million guarantee. They split the pay-per-view 50-50, straight down the middle, and we have a fight. I think that's the best way to go, because if you go by the blueprint of Spence's last fight, when he fought Ugas, Spence got $1.5 million. Ugas got $1 million. That was the guarantees. And they did 50-50 pay-per-view split, right down the middle. So I think that's the blueprint for this fight to transpire. See, the problem is, people think this fight is bigger than what it is. A lot of people I've been hearing on YouTube saying, man, Bud gonna get about 10 million and Earl gonna get 15 million, or both guys gonna get 20 million, this, that, and the third. That fight is not that big, ladies and gentlemen. It's bigger on YouTube than it actually is as far as will this fight deliver for the casual boxing fans. It will to a certain extent, but it will not get the numbers that Canelo Alvarez would get. It will not get the numbers that Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury would get. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to pull in them type of numbers, ladies and gentlemen. So these guys are good fighter. Spence Jr. does a good numbers. He's a respectable pay-per-view draw. Make no mistake about it. But he's not on the level of a Canelo Alvarez. He's not on the level of Tyson Fury. He's not on the level of a Deontay Wilder. He's right there up under those guys, and that's no shame in that. He's a pay-per-view draw. He does great numbers in the state of Texas, in particular in Dallas, AT&T Stadium. The guy is a phenomenal fighter and a phenomenal draw. But Bud Crawford is not shown to be that pay-per-view attraction. Look at his last numbers with Porter. Look at the numbers he did with Amir Khan, Victor Postal. I'm not going to go over those numbers. You know the numbers. I've done plenty of videos telling you the numbers. The numbers are not good. No matter how you slice it, the numbers are not good. The numbers do not stack up to the numbers that Spence Jr. brings to the table. So with all that being said, it's going to boil down to Terence Crawford. will he accept the terms of the contract? If he accepts the terms, the fight's going to happen. If he doesn't accept the terms, the fight's not going to happen. Errol Spence Jr. has agreed to his terms. Errol Spence Jr. understands the PBC blueprint. I don't think Crawford and his team quite understand the PBC blueprint. I think they think this fight is bigger than what it actually is. They got to be reasonable. They got to understand that the money that they was making with Top Rank and ESPN, those days are over. I salute you and your team for getting a hell of a deal. But the bottom line was you was getting overpaid for that, what you was producing. What they was paying you and what you was producing, your own promoter even said it. Your own promoter said the money he lost on you, he could have built a mansion in Beverly Hills. He said this, not me. You know, people want to talk about Al Heyman and this, that, and the third. Well, Crawford own promoter said that he ain't no draw. He lost money on him. As recent as his last fight with Porter, he lost money on him. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Hope this fight gets made. This is one of the biggest fights to be made in the sport of boxing. There's no obstacles in the way as far as promotional companies, as Bud Crawford is a free agent. But the bottom line is Errol Spence Jr. has accepted terms. Errol Spence Jr. know what time it is. He knows how the PBC blueprint works on PBC. You're going to take a lesser guarantee, and you're going to make your money on the back end. And this fight's going to do, at least in my opinion, 500,000 pay-per-view buys. So both fighters at the end of the day gonna walk away with over $10 million. It's just you're not gonna get that off the top. You're not gonna get that as a guarantee like you got as you got the guarantees when you was with Top Rank and ESPN. He got those guarantees out the rip. The contract he signed with Top Rank Boxing, no matter how the fight did on pay-per-view or the ratings, if he was fighting on regular ESPN, he was guaranteed to make a set amount of money, at least $3 million. Was a contract he signed with Top Rank Boxing. I think it was in the neighborhood of $3 million, maybe a little over $3 million. He was guaranteed to make, no matter if he was fighting, you know, Kavalauskas or, you know, Benavidez. Benavidez Jr. It didn't matter who he was fighting. He was going to make his $3+ million. This is not the type of multi-year contract that PBC is going to put out for a fighter of the caliber of Terrence Bud Crawford. They're not going to give you that type of contract. It's going to be on a fight-by-fight basis. And another thing that Terrence Bud Crawford's going to have to do, he's going to sign with Al Heyman. Al Heyman's going to have to be his advisor. He's going to have a linkage with Al Heyman. Al Heyman's going to have futures on him. A lot of people going to say, oh, man, he's trying to make Terrence Bud Crawford sign a slave contract. Well, if Terrence Bud Crawford go over there and fight Bob Arum fighter, a fighter that's with Bob Arum, he's going to have to sign with Bob Arum. If he beats Bob Arum fighter, Bob Arum going to have futures on his next 2 to 3 fights at least. That's how it works in boxing. So you're not going to just come over here and potentially beat Errol Spence Jr. and ride off into the sunset and, you know, be able to negotiate with another promotional company and move on. Maybe negotiate with Golden Boy for a Virgil Ortiz Jr. fight, or, you know, move on to Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing and go to UK and fight a Conor Bean or something like that. You ain't gonna be able to do that. You know, you're gonna have to sign with Al Heyman as your advisor to get the fight, and you're gonna have to accept a lesser guarantee. That's just the bottom line. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Let me know your thoughts about the updated negotiations between Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Bud Crawford. Do you believe Terrence Bud Crawford should accept the terms as Errol Spence Jr. has already accepted the term? Do you believe that Terrence Bud Crawford should sign with Al Heyman as his advisor? You think he should be like a Canelo Alvarez, which he ain't. He don't bring the monetary numbers that Canelo Alvarez brings to the table on pay-per-view. He doesn't have the fan base that Canelo Alvarez has. That's why Canelo Alvarez was able to come over here, and PBC wanted to sign him to a 3-fight deal, potentially. You know, him fighting Charlo, and then Errol Spence Jr., and then maybe Benavidez, you know, basically a 3-fight deal. That was the rumor. Before the Plant fight, you know, fight Plant, and then fight Charlo, and then fight Benavidez or Errol Spence Jr. at a catch weight. They're not going to do that with Terrence Bud Crawford. They're going to say, you got to sign with us and make Al Heyman your advisor, like I said earlier, and you're going to have to accept a lesser guarantee than what you made in your last fight with Sean Porter. That's just what it is. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Twitter, JBsports 3303. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard Briscoe 3551. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports. The man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.